Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for signing up for this presentation with Laurie Wigham. And I think it's, I want to also extend my welcome to those of you who are going to be seeing this recording later. You're with us in spirit. We're here, and you have a lot of friends here with us. So we have people signed up from 19 different states, and I'm just going to run through them really fast to give you the scope of this. Ohio, Pennsylvania, California, Tennessee, West Virginia, Florida, Illinois, North Carolina, Vancouver, Montana, Oregon, Louisiana, New Mexico, New York, Virginia, Texas, Utah, North Dakota, Washington. Did I say Utah? British Columbia, and Vancouver, if I didn't say Vancouver. And I want to say hi. There's somebody in Sebastopol, which is where I am. So hi, hello, Sebastopol, and hello, Bowling Green, Ohio. My sister lives there. So let's see. We'll talk to you about the field campus, because I know a lot of you have been there, but a lot of you haven't been there, and you're going to get a real taste of it today. The camaraderie we have there, the other classes we have there, and San Francisco State has had this program for, I think it's 53 years now. And but Laurie, you haven't been there all 53 years.
No, about 12 years.
Yeah. Okay. So I am going to mute everybody, and so we can let's see. All right. I don't think Laurie and I are muted. We do like to see your picture if you turn your camera on. Okay, we're good. So let's see, is there anything else I need? You've got your view kind of set up, hold off on your chatting kind of until the end, unless you're having problems. And Laurie, do you want to take questions, right at the end, or do you want to have little pauses where you take a question? And you're muted, by the way.
I'm going to take questions at the end of the drawing part.
Okay. Okay, good. Each segment, or the end of the whole
drawing? At the end of the whole thing, when we finish the tree.
Okay.
I'm going to take questions then.
Good. Well, I think we're ready to start.
Okay. Well, let's start the screen sharing. Come on.
I always forget to tell people that I'm with the Friends of the Sierra Nevada Field Campus. We're the nonprofit that supports this program. So.
Okay. Whoops. Okay, let's just. Okay. Can everybody see the title slide where it says tree portraits?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, good. Great. Looks like this is actually going to work. So I'll just do one more review of the equipment that you're going to need for this, just in case you haven't got everything out yet. And we'll check in again with that later when we actually start drawing. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the field campus, and I think Mary is too. The Sierra Nevada Field Campus is run by San Francisco State, but it's sort of a semi-orphan child that it's lived kind of its own life off in the wilderness for a long time now. It's a little known gem. It's open to everyone. You don't have to be a student at San Francisco State. And I've been going there for about 12 years. And for me, it's been like the most fun grown-up summer camp I could imagine. There are all kinds of classes that the campus runs, not just art, although I've been there for the art ones. There are lots of birding classes, geology, stream hydrology, trout fishing, writing, astronomy, bats, mushrooms, and many more. Often the teachers are world-class experts who've written the definitive books on the subject. Our butterfly teachers are sought out all over the world. Every year, Cornell University brings out a bunch of people to record birdsong in the Sierra Valley nearby. And when you're there, you get a lot more than just the subject that you're studying. The camera trapping class, Bill Wilson is probably here, does a slideshow every year with photos of all the cameras, all the photos they've taken of animals who are prowling around in the night. The edible plants class does a feast at the end for everybody who's up there, so you get to taste everything that they've collected. It's just such a cool place. And so this presentation is sort of a love letter from me to the campus and to the area where I've had some of the loveliest times in my life. And I highly recommend that you get up there to discover it for yourself if you can manage it. Mary, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I want to add a little bit.
Okay.
You can see in the one picture that these are people who are outside up in the dining hall, which is up one story. And when you come to the field campus, you have some choices about how you stay there. You can stay in one of the tents that the field campus provides with a mattress and, you know, the outdoor bathrooms, and there are outdoor showers, which I was really scared of the first year I came. I thought, these are outdoor showers of co-ed, but it's been one of the highlights of the 20 plus years I've been going to the field campus to shower under the stars or under the burning Sierra sun. You can also stay off campus. If you're not really feeling like you want to be a camper or wake up with the birds, there are many places to stay off campus. And you can still come and have all your meals at the dining hall. And I have stayed on and off campus, and it doesn't detract from the experience to stay off campus. You stay until everyone else is going off to bed and you go off to wherever you're staying. The meals are fantastic. They're hearty. They're 3 times a day. You really get a good feeling. And then this camaraderie and this cross-pollination of topics. And I think that's one of the things that's so inspiring is there's the nature people, the artists and the scientists, and we all get to cross-pollinate and learn from each other. And I think that, yeah, and registration usually opens in January. Laurie's class, she has 2 different weeks of painting, 2 different classes, and they fill up really fast. So, you know, we encourage you to get on the field campus or the Friends of the Field Campus mailing list, or watch our Facebook pages, because we can announce there that registration's open and then people can start getting in there. So if people have questions about the field campus, you know, you can put them in the chat and we can talk later, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. The place is really inspiring and the camaraderie is really inspiring. So that's probably enough for now.
Okay, so those of you who've not been there, or actually, how many people have been there? Show of hands. Oh, looks like a lot of people haven't. Okay, so you're probably wondering where it is. So here's a bit of orientation. So that big lake down there is Lake Tahoe. And we're a bit north and west of Truckee on Highway 49. So Interstate 80 is well below us, but that is one way to get up there. The closest town is Sierra City, if you're ever looking up weather reports. It's an area that's not well known by a lot of Bay Area people, surprisingly, because it's just spectacular. A lot of the classes happen along this area called the Lakes Basin, which has dozens and dozens of these pristine little mountain lakes and granite basins. And some of the other classes happen in the Sierra Valley, which is that pale area up to the right of the campus, which is the headwaters of the Feather River. And the Feather River is named that because there used to be so many birds up there that the river was covered with feathers. There's not quite so many birds there now, but it's still one of the most popular birding areas in the whole country. So where we're going to go today is the Fraser Falls Trail, which is about 10 miles north of the campus. It's about a 20-minute drive depending on road conditions. Those of you who've been there before will know that the road conditions vary a lot. This can be a pretty rough road, but I can still get out there in my city Toyota Corolla. So if you're trying to find it on your own, it's not that hard to get there. There are potholes, but you can get past them. So I thought it'd be fun to pretend on this presentation that we're all going on a walk together through the mountains, because we've all been missing the mountains a lot for the last year and a bit. And a lot of the drawing that we're doing is connected to the place, that it's important that you think about the place that you're in while you're doing the drawing. So let's pretend we're heading out on a walk on this trail. It's about a half a mile to the falls overlook, but we're going to leave the trail before we get there, a little bit before we cross Fraser Creek at the top of the falls. Okay, so let's head out on this trail to Fraser Falls. As you can see, it's a lovely trail. It's smooth. It goes through a beautiful area. Those picnic tables at the start of the trail have been used by lots of different classes. If you've done classes up there, you'll probably remember those. There's flowers all along the trail. The California Native Plant Society often has flower ID events out there. There's some beautiful rocks along that trail. And the trail has been designed to be wheelchair accessible. So it has these beautiful slow curves. Oh, there's a bench. If it's hot and you're tired, you can sit down on the bench and have a little rest, admire the tree shadows across the trail. Heading on further down the trail after our little rest, you will see this weird double pine tree that's kind of leaning over at an odd angle. Everybody got that in the red circle? So that red pine tree marks the spot where we're going to leave the trail. And we're heading up to that black rock up on the left. So if you see that black rock, you can see that there's a gravelly trail that's easy to miss. But if you're watching for that double pine tree, you can find it and follow it up the hill. Okay, let's head up the trail. It gets a little rocky at the top, but it's still pretty manageable, even if your knees are a little dodgy. Looks like there's going to be a view as we're getting up towards the top of the trail.
Laurie, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. Laurie, do you believe in miracles?
I guess so.
Okay, it's good if you believe in miracles, because one just happened, and that is, but it came just at the right time too, at the top of this trail before we started our lesson. We have just had a donor offer a $10,000 match to all the funds that are raised for this Zoom class. So if you donate $10, it's $20 to the Friends of the Field Campus, which goes directly into the program. The Friends don't have overhead. The board kind of covers all that stuff. But so this is a great chance. I will put a link in the chat. So when you're doing your drawing and you get done a little early, you can go to PayPal or write out a check and send it to the Field Campus. And just know that whatever you give, your money is going to be doubled thanks to a very generous angel. And the reason I ask you, I know Janice, wow, is right. The reason I ask you if you believe in miracles is because she did this last year during our fundraising Zooms. And so I never thought anything like this could happen again, but here we are. We have a wonderful angel who's again inspired so much by the Field Campus and by how much, Laurie, you have put into creating this class and all the time. It's just super inspiring and a testament to how much this place means to us. So I'm not going to apologize for interrupting you,
Okay.
but I hope that everyone, gives generously. And our motto is no donation is too large. So, okay, I'll put the links in the chat for you. You can copy them or click on them when you get the chance. And I'll let you go back, Laurie. And I hope everybody's smiling.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, it will go to a very good cause. The campus buildings are pretty run down, and the Friends have been raising money to make the whole place much more accessible and to keep it going. It's it really is a treasure. And in the bigger picture, I think getting lots of people up there to learn about biodiversity and to learn to love the Sierra will make a big contribution towards battling climate change and making a better world for all of us. So I will get on with the show. So here we are up in this lovely rocky ridge. I was going to show you a video at this point, but I just couldn't get it reliably to play. So what we'll do is just do some still photos. So there's a whole bunch of wonderful old gnarled juniper trees along this ridge. The wind comes up from the valley below. They're growing in rock. They're pretty old and twisted in all kinds of ways. They're very, very unique characters, each of them. I especially like this one, which is hanging out over the valley. And it's a dead tree right next to a live one. So on the other side of it, you can see the dead snag poking up, and you can see the live tree growing up right next to it. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's just such a beautiful tree. You can see here close up the dead trunk next to the live one. And looking at the roots, again, you can see that same matching of the live roots and the dead roots. But this tree is a little bit too complicated for us to draw, as is this one, with these wonderful twisted branches that sort of twist all over each other. I have no idea how it grew that way, but it's wonderful to look at it up close. There's some nice pine trees up there if you get intimidated by the complicated junipers. This is the tree that I did the drawing of a couple of years ago. A few of you were out there with me when I did this. And you can see that the lighting is a little bit bad on this walk we're on today. So we are actually going to do a simpler tree that we've got some good lighting on. So this is the tree that we're going to be drawing today. Not nearly so many branches in the picture. So let's get started. One more review to make sure you've got all the equipment that you need. Everybody set? Okay. So you might have noticed back there were a couple of sticks. Why a stick? There's something magical about sticks, that they actually really like drawing trees. You can make all kinds of marks that are beautiful representations of branches. A lot of the time I'll try and draw a tree with a twig that I've picked up from the ground underneath that tree. So you're drawing a tree with one of its own twigs. And you can see that you can get lots of different kinds of lines. So that pear tree on the left has very different kinds of marks than the, whatever that broadleaf tree is on the right. I've forgotten, it was somewhere in Michigan. I've done a lot of drawing in burned areas, and it's very cool to be able to pick up a charred stick on the ground and use that to draw with, because you get some of the charcoal mixed in with the paint and with the ink that you're drawing with. So this drawing was done after the Rim fire, which at the time was, I think, the 4th worst fire in California history. But of course now, I don't know, it's gone down to being the 11th worst fire or something. We've had so many bad fires since then. So before you start drawing, you need to stop and look and think. Let me find my notes here because I think I was going to say something else about this one. So, do you have to draw the whole tree? No, you do not. You want to pick the parts of the tree that are most interesting to you. I call this class the tree portraits because we're trying to draw unique individual trees and not a stereotype tree like a child's lollipop or a tree that you learn to draw in a class somewhere. So you're trying to let go of the formulas and draw the tree that you're seeing in front of you. And you do not have to draw every branch or every leaf. The branches don't even have to be in the same place or the same order. But every mark that you make needs to be based on an actual branch that you're looking at, or a bit of a trunk, or something that you can see in front of you to get this quality of a portrait of that particular unique tree. And you can tell when someone is making it up or just phoning it in. The character of that weird sideways twist you see is not something you would ever have thought of making it up in your mind. It's something you get from seeing the tree that's right in front of you. And it tells a story about that tree and how it grew and the place where it grew. So you're trying to somehow incorporate in the story of that tree how the wind was flowing up over the ridge and what happened in that drought year, what happened in the year with the record snowfall when it was still snowing when the camp opened in June, which has sometimes happened, not this year for sure. And you won't know the exact cause and effect, but on some level it's reflected in that tree, and that's what you're trying to get in that portrait. So here are some trees where I picked the parts that most interested me. And let's see, I've lost my place in the narrative. Let's pick it up here. Okay, so before I start drawing when I'm out in the field, I like to get all set up and ready to go and then take a moment to look around me and breathe. So I'd like everyone to take a breath now before we actually start drawing. And here's the plan. So we're going to go branches, trunk, foliage, and then we're going to adjust the balance of the whole tree. So starting with branches. We just talked about paying attention to one branch at a time with your complete focus. And the branches are the key to capturing the character of the tree. So I'm going to start drawing now. Mary, can you spotlight my drawing desk?
You know, we had the spotlight option when we rehearsed yesterday. Let me try. There's an option that says swap the video and shared screen. There we go.
Okay, can you see the drawing desk now?
No, we're seeing you. Nope, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. Can you spotlight it on your end?
You know what? It looks like I need to highlight that I'm being recorded. Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try spotlighting it on my end.
Yeah, because I don't even have the option like I did yesterday when we practiced. Wait,
Okay.
view option. Wait a minute, I may have found it. Nope, it doesn't give me the spotlight option.
Okay. So sorry about this, everybody.
So you can't spotlight if you are sharing screen. Are you doing that, Laurie?
I am sharing screen. I've just tried spotlighting for everyone. Can you see my drawing table now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So it looks like I'll need to do the spotlighting.
Okay.
Okay, So here we go. So I have a photo of that tree on my drawing desk. We'll go back to the shared screen in a minute and you'll be able to draw from this yourself. But for now, okay, so I've got a bunch of sticks on the desk here. When I'm going to be drawing with sticks, I'd like to collect a wide selection. Looks like you can see them. And often you can sharpen the sticks just by scratching at them with your fingernail. But if that doesn't work, if your wood is harder, I like to get a vegetable peeler and scrape away at it with that. And if you're teaching this with children, vegetable peelers are much safer than knives if you're trying to get children to sharpen sticks. So I have here a bottle of ink.
People are asking if we can make the spotlight screen show larger, and I think it has to do with your view that's selected on your screen.
Okay, try switching between speaker and gallery view.
Yeah.
And see if you get to speaker view, if that gives you the desk larger. Has that worked for anybody?
It doesn't work on tablets.
Yeah,
Once
for-
you're spotlighted, we have no control.
Okay, I'm on a tablet and I can explain what to do.
Okay,
At least on my tablet, there's a small, like 1-inch square at the bottom of the screen,
mhm.
and I can toggle. If I tap that, there's like a plus and a minus. I can toggle back and forth in it. So
Okay.
I can get the drawing desk on the large size of my tablet.
Well, it's, when I do a plus, it just shows me more small,
On my tablet, I just tap on the small image of Laurie's camera and it brings it to the forefront.
okay.
There are also grab bars next to the small image. You can grab that and pull it to the left if you're on a computer.
Okay, got it.
Okay, let's get going.
Okay,
So-
let's get going.
So I've got here a piece of scrap paper so that I can dip the ink on it to get rid of excess ink and find out what kind of line I've got. And I'm drawing in a piece of rough watercolor paper here, but you can draw on any kind of paper that you want. I happen to like the kind of lines I get with rough watercolor paper, but all kinds of lines will work well here. Just move my computer closer. Can everyone hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So composition. Probably most of you are used to starting off sketching with pencil and laying out the whole page because that's what your art teachers have told you to do. And that's a good thing to do. But I found that with this kind of thing, it's better to pick the most important part of the drawing, the part that you most want to draw, which in this case is this branch that I'm going to start off with. And I'm going to start with that, and I'm just going to guess vaguely where I want it on the page. So it's in the upper left quadrant. So I'm going to start with that. That's the most interesting branch, and I want to make sure that that gets highlighted. So I'm going to make sure that I've got room for that on the page, and the rest of the tree can just flow on from there. So I'm going to dip in the ink first, and I'm going to test on my scratch paper what sort of line I've got. And I'm just going to start drawing that branch, kind of where I think it needs to be. Now, when you're drawing with a stick, you can use the friction of the paper to do some interesting things. So right now, I don't know if you can hear it. I'm scraping on that paper. And it's making a little bit of a noise, but that gives me a lot of control over the line so that I can follow the way that that branch sort of stops and starts. Okay, I like this little branch here that's going down. So I'm gonna follow that down. Now, something you can do if you don't want it to be pure black is in one of your water containers, dip into it, and that will dilute your ink and you'll get a grayish ink. And that's especially useful if you're drawing thinner branches and you can't draw a thinner line with a stick. If the line is a lighter gray, it will look thinner. You can also let the pressure up and not drag it over the page, not with the friction of the page, and then you'll get more flowy lines, like these ones up here. And it may take you a while to get the hang of what the stick wants to do. Don't worry about it, just try stuff. There's lots of branches there that you can keep trying drawing things with. Okay, let's switch over to everybody else. I'm gonna stop the spotlight. Can I do that? Mary, can you switch off the spotlight here?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we should be going back to the screen sharing. Has everybody got the image of the tree?
We see
Yep.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, we
You
see
the tree.
you.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm going to give you 5 minutes to try drawing that branch.
Oh, no.
And then we'll come back and do the next phase. And if you can't finish it, don't worry. There'll be more time to work on it later.
So you're still screen sharing with the tree?
Yeah, so you can see the tree?
Yes.
Okay. Something that I like to do is to use the direction of my line to follow the direction of the growth of the branch, because the line will naturally get thinner as it runs out of ink. So you can start with the fattest part of the branch and keep going until it gets thinner and thinner and you run out of ink. And then pick up on another branch, another little smaller branch with the fatter part, and then keep going until you run out of ink. And once you start drawing a branch, you don't have to keep looking at the page. You can pay attention to the direction of the photo and try and feel out what's happening with that branch, and just let your stick change direction on the page. This may be hard to do if you've never drawn with a stick before, but give it a try anyway. We don't have to get great results at this one. It's just to try out drawing a portrait of this tree. I wish we were all together and we could talk about this while we're doing it. We've got to keep everyone muted for now so we don't hear the dog from the neighbor and your husband making a phone call in the next room. But one of these days, we'll be back on that ridge together, drawing those trees.
Well, I think
Okay.
this photograph's pretty easy to live into. You know, I can feel myself right up there with that beautiful old juniper. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get some sense of how it grew, that holding up against those fierce winds and the frosts and the snow and putting roots down into that rock. How on
Into a
earth is it
rock.
holding on?
Yeah. Yeah. And the vista beyond.
Okay, we've got about 10 seconds left. And that is 5 minutes. How do we go? Good start. Okay, well, let me go back to, let's keep going with the slideshow. So the next thing is we're going to deal with the trunk. So if the branches are the best way to show the character of the tree, the trunk is where you show its strength and how it's rooted in the earth and how solid it is. But oddly enough, you need to start out light and sketchy, and I'll talk more about why that is later. So you also want to make the trunk a little bit narrower than it is how you see it, because we're going to be needing to make it thicker on one side or the other later to make it more balanced. So even though the trunk is solid and, I mean, it looks huge there, we're going to start out making a little bit light and sketchy. And you're also going to want to leave the base open and a bit ragged because we'll be adding details of stuff that's on the ground later. So just remember that you probably won't get it right. You probably won't get the tree balanced the first time, and that's something we're going to adjust later. But let's start sketching it in now. So let's go back to sharing my drawing table, and I'll demo that for a minute.
And you have to spotlight it, and I can
Right.
stop the
Okay.
spotlighting, but I can't turn it on.
Okay, everybody got my drawing table again? Mary, can you see the drawing table?
I see the tree. I don't see it spotlighted.
I see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. If you
I see
click
it.
on,
You have to
You
click on.
might have to go back to speaker view.
correct, you go back to the view.
Okay, so the trunk. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so again, I'm gonna check how much ink I've got on the stick on my scrap paper. And I'm gonna just loosely sketch in the trunk, probably with lighter ink. Let's move this stuff up. And I'm just gonna indicate where the other branches are. So there'd be a huge temptation at this point to get into detail with those wonderful ridges in the bark. So resist that for now. We're just trying to get this roughly blocked in. Okay, let's get back to the tree. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do it yourself. Okay, everybody can see the photo of the tree again? Okay, so this is just 2 minutes to block in that trunk. Just very loosely and roughly. Okay, you've got 1 minute left. I'm deliberately keeping this short so you can't put in too much detail at this point. Okay, that's the timer. So now, so the next stage is we're going to flesh out those other branches a little bit more. But first, let's stand up and stretch. Okay, everybody get up. Stretch. Wiggle your shoulders. Shake your hands. You want to be able to stay loose to make beautiful marks. Something that's nice about the stick drawing is that it's almost impossible to control, so that you're forced to just pay attention to what's happening on the page and work with it. And if you're somebody who's used to being able to draw very precisely, very carefully, this will hopefully shake you out of it and force you to just see what happens. Unfortunately, those rough lines that the ink makes with the stick on the page are very much like the branches shape, the shape of the lines in the bark, and the roughness of the tree. Okay, everybody had a stretch. Let's get back to the demo. So right now, I'm going to spotlight my drawing table again. Okay, so I'm going to flesh this out a bit. I'm going to add some more branches. Now, again, you don't have to draw every branch. I'm just going to draw the ones that interest me. A lot of time. Oops, looks like I've gotten muted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Looks like I muted myself accidentally. The joys of Zoom. Okay, so let's see. So I'm just going to draw the things that interest me here. And it's always a bad idea to start a drawing with the things that you're bored with, because they can take over, and by the time you get to the fun stuff, you might not want to keep going. You might not care about it. So I like that odd little branch that's going off on the right. I'm going to flesh out this dark one that's going down on the left. Can't quite see what's happening, but I'll make it up. And again, as I'm drawing each branch, I'm paying attention to what I'm seeing. I'm paying attention to the way that the stick is moving over the page. There's that interesting thing that's going down there. So I like that. I'm going to try and catch the angle of that. Probably going to put in a few more light branches. Going to dip the stick in the water to make a paler gray branch. Put in some of these little ones here. Looks like there's a lighter branch which is coming down in the background there, which I kind of like. Okay, I'll let you have a go at that. I will stop the spotlight. Okay, got the tree back again, the photo of the tree. Mary, have we got the tree photo back again?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, great. Okay, so let's give you another 5 minutes to mess around with this, to add in some more branches, to leave the foliage off for now. We've got a whole separate section for the foliage, which we'll get to later. But just throw in some more things which seem interesting to you. If you want to sketch in a rock or two at the bottom, you could do that, but don't put in a whole lot of detail yet. Just keep going for structure, for interesting stuff that catches the character of this tree.
Laurie, were you using the same stick the whole time or did you switch sticks?
I might have accidentally switched sticks. Sorry, I've got an ice cube in my mouth.
Oh,
I might have accidentally switched sticks. I meant to keep using the one the whole time, but you don't have to keep using the same stick. Even if you switch sticks, it's still going to look like the same kind of drawing because your hand will be moving in more or less the same way and you're using the same materials and the same paper. So if you've got a wide stick that will make different marks or a thin stick that's going to make thinner marks, go ahead and play with it. And try to be a little looser this time, to take some more chances, to make some messes. Just keep trying out to see what that stick wants to do on the page. Play around with the fully dark line and with the diluted line. If you end up with a blob of ink on the page, you can dip the stick into that and draw out from the blob. Okay, you've got 1 more minute. Got 10 seconds. Okay, that's it. So on to the next one. There we go. So foliage is next. Now, we're going to step back a bit and talk some about different ways of doing foliage, because it's the hardest bit for me at any rate, and it's something I've been struggling with for years. So I'll show you some of the solutions I've tried over the years. And we're just going to look at conifer foliage. I had a section in this earlier that included broadleaf foliage, and my reviewers decided that was too complicated. So broadleaf leaves will be for another lesson. Okay, so pines. You cannot draw every needle. Here's a close-up, and I've gone way close up on this one, but even this is going down to about a quarter of the needles that I actually saw, even though it looks like I'm drawing every needle. Moving back a little bit further, you can still draw lots of individual lines to suggest pine needles, but even this is just drawing a small fraction of the needles that there actually are there. And once you move back further, you can't even do that. So these are stick drawings, by the way, more lovely things that you can do with sticks. So moving back a little bit further, one solution that you can do is to do sort of greenish blobs with needly lines sticking out the edges. So Uma, you were there when I did the one on the left, I think. You probably remember that one.
I do, and
You
it's
probably remember the
fantastic.
very tree.
Yeah, it's fantastic, Laurie.
Thanks. And again, you can see on that one on the left that in the background, those are pine trees too, but because they're further back, they're just blobs all together with maybe a few little things sticking out the top. Moving on, here's some pine trees at a greater distance where there aren't any needle lines at all. There's just blobs. And some of the blobs have rough edges or little bits of funny brushwork sticking out, but you can still tell that these are pine trees. I'm not sure what the cues are that lets me know that that's pine foliage, but it's still reading as pine foliage. But the tree that we're drawing today, this juniper, has little short scaly needles, not those long pine needles. So what do you do here? The solution that I found seems to work best for this kind of needles is rough edges and lots of air. So if you look at the photo on the left, it looks very rough and there's lots of air in between all of it. And you can look on the right to see the way that I've tried to suggest those. And most of this foliage done, by the way, was done with a stick. And I'll show you in a few minutes how to do that. Moving a little bit further away, here are some more trees with those kinds of needles. Actually, Uma was there when I did that one on the left too. That was at those are Monterey cypresses. And the one on the right is a sequoia, which all have those sort of short little scaly needles like the junipers. And again, you can see that what gives it that quality of these particular kinds of needles is there's lots of air and there's lots of rough edges, so lots of rough brushwork. Here's another one moving even further back. These are the cypresses at Land's End. And even though there'd be no hope of seeing individual needles there, there's some of the quality of the roughness and the airiness that gives you the feel of that particular kind of foliage. And moving even further back, these ones are fairly abstract, but they still catch some of the feel of that kind of foliage. So again, there's a quality of air and rough edges that gives you the feel of those particular kinds of needles. So let's get back to that tree and see if we can reproduce this on the page. I will spotlight my drawing table again. Okay. So let's rearrange this so you can see both the reference and my drawing. So by now I've forgotten which stick I was using, so I'm just picking up a random stick from the table here. Now I could draw with dark ink on a stick, but that's a little bit darker than I'd like to go. So I'm going to dip it in the water again to dilute this a bit. So I've got grayish marks, and I'm just kind of scraping them over the paper with the edge of the stick. I'm not using the point of the stick. I could use the point to get little sharp edges, but I'm getting more interesting marks by going in with very diluted ink and just scraping over the paper. So rough edges and lots of air. I might want to get darker in some places, so I can pick up some ink, some darker ink, and put it into the wet areas, or I can scrape over the dry areas to get more rough edges. Dipping back into the water again. Okay, I'm going to put in some foliage on the other side. Looks to me like the other side, it's a lot darker. So I can do this with the darker ink. And again, I'm scraping it over the page to get those rough edges in that air. Or something else I could do is I could bring in my watercolors here if I wanted some green. So I'm dipping the brush into the clean water, and I've got a really ratty old brush here. It's a water brush that clogged up, so I can't use it as a water brush anymore. And it's got a very battered tip. So I'm gonna dip into the green ink, the green watercolor, and get a puddle of watercolor here. And then I'm going to dip my stick in that, and the stick has still got some ink on it. So it's going to be a pretty dark, dirty color, but that doesn't matter for what we're doing here. And again, you don't have to get into watercolor at all. You can stick with the ink if you want to. And I'm just going to put some of that foliage on top of the trunk and maybe put in a few more green bits here. But since our tree is mostly in silhouette, it's going to be fine if there's no green at all, if it's just gray and black. Okay, let's switch over so you can give this a try. Let's see. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, if we stop the spotlighting, can you see the tree photo again?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's take another 5 minutes to add some foliage. Have these 5-minute chunks been enough time, or do we need to add a little bit more time?
It's been enough.
Been enough? Okay. So 5 minutes to add more foliage. And remember to use your scrap paper if you might have too much ink or too much watercolor on the stick. So you can use the scrap paper to test how wet it is, because dry marks are going to work better here. If the stick that you've got doesn't have any flat areas that you can rub over the paper, try getting in there with your fingernail and scraping away some of the stick. Not a good idea if you want to keep your fingernails clean, but I've given up on that long ago. And again, you don't have to put in all the foliage, and mostly just use this as a chance to experiment, try different things, see what it looks like on the paper, and work with what's happening on the paper. Okay, 1 minute to go. I wish I could see these while you're working. Soon we'll be doing classes in person again. Okay, that was 5 minutes. So we will go on to the next bit. So here's the part where you pull it all together and make it work. Probably at this point, your tree is not looking very balanced. So look at the tree in your drawing, and does it look stable? Does it look balanced? Or does it look like it's going to topple over? I have drawn lots and lots of trees that when I've stepped back to look at them, I've gone, oh no, this tree is not rooted in the ground at all. And because this juniper especially is so solidly rooted in that rock, it's a really important part of this portrait is to have something that looks like it's rooted in the rock. So we're going to look at some tactics for making your tree look more balanced and more rooted. So here's a summary sheet of the things I'm going to be doing. So you need to make sure that the trunk is wider lower down. You can make the roots bigger on one side or the other. You can add or extend branches, and you can darken the foliage or add some more. So let me go to a demo and I'll show you how some of that works in practice. Okay, so here's my tree. It actually looks to me like the trunk needs to be thicker. And it looks to me like it needs to be a little bit more upright. So I'm going to grab a stick and I'm going to make the trunk thicker on this side and a bit more upright. And this kind of tree is an easy one to correct because you've got all those vertical lines in the bark. So it doesn't matter if you just add a bit more on one side of the tree. And this is also a point at which you can start adding in some of those bark lines. And you'll notice the way that the roots kind of flow over the ground is something that you can show by the direction of those bark lines. So I can show how this trunk, how the trunk flows into the root. Okay, I want to make that a little bit fatter. And I see this dark area on the trunk here. And I can also see how the tree kind of flows around, down, and over. And my stick is falling apart, so I'm going to switch to another stick. I remember some years ago, I was teaching my first ever class for the Nature Journal Club. And I arrived planning to pick up sticks when I got there. And it was in this beautiful manicured garden around the Tiburon Library, and there were no sticks on the ground. And fortunately, Sylvia and I think Renee were there, and they went off into the bushes on the side and found enough sticks for the whole class. So thank you, Sylvia and Renee. It was very useful. Okay, so here we are. I think the tree needs a little bit more on this side. Let's see if it looks off balance when I put in all of these sort of flowy branch marks. Well, it looks to me now like I've got it leaning too far to the right. So what I'm going to do is make the foliage a bit darker on the left to sort of weight it down a bit more. Some of this is just optical illusion. I have actually seen trees that I've drawn them what I thought I saw and they still looked off balance. So sometimes you have to kind of make this up. So I'm going to draw a heavier, darker branch going through here to try and put a little bit more weight on the left side. And I'm going to draw some more detail on the roots on the left side. Again, to anchor it more firmly over there. And I think just compositionally, I want the right side of the tree to be resting on some rocks. So I'm going to start putting in some rocks there. And here I'm dragging the side of the stick over the paper to get broader marks. At some point, if you're just having a hard time with a stick, you could switch to a brush, but I think I can do most of this with a stick. Yeah, that's too much in the left, so I'm going to take the roots down even further to anchor it in that rock. Oh, that's good. That's doing the trick. And something to check for too is to make sure that the trunk is narrower at the top and wider at the bottom. This isn't universal with all trees, but our minds expect it to be. And I found that when I don't have, when I end up with a narrower trunk at the bottom, it just looks wrong. So that's something to make sure that you've got. Okay, let's switch back to you and see if you can fiddle with this drawing to make it work. Move the spotlight.
I did that.
Oh, did you? Okay, great. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to take away the full view of the tree because I want you to focus on what's happening in the page more than looking at the tree. So you can check this image, but mostly look at what you've got on the page and use some of these techniques to see if you can make your tree look more balanced and more rooted. So I'm just going to give 3 minutes there. I'll go back to the photo of the tree so you've got a little bit more information. Okay, we've just got a minute to go. Okay, here we go. Okay, final finishing touches is adding details, maybe some shapes and color. Now, the thing about details is that you want to leave them till last because the only way you can see if a detail is necessary is to see if the picture works without it. And I'll credit Tom Hoffman for that insight. He's written a wonderful book called Watercolor Painting, which talks about that a lot. And I am certainly someone who wants to put in all the details first, especially if I get something going well, I want to keep going. But it's better to see if you can go without. That's the secret to not overworking your painting. And it's better not to put in too many details because your brain will fill in more if you just give a few clues. It's actually less interesting if you spell everything out. So I'm going to start adding some details here of bark texture, lichens, skinny twigs, grasses, flowers, and rocks at the base. And I'm almost certainly going to overwork it, but I'm going to try and just put a few things in. If you want to work along with me, go ahead. Let's go back to the screen sharing. Oops. Oh, golly, I've stayed with the spotlight on the other one. Okay, we'll go back to the spotlight. Okay. So let me just add a few details. Let's put in some volume on the trunk. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of finger painting here. I'm going to dip my finger in the inky water pot and just smear some water over it. And the ink is probably still wet enough that even though I'm using waterproof ink, I can pick some up. There I picked up a little bit more than I wanted. If you're picking up too much, get your rag
Laurie,
or your...
can you unspotlight your face view? We've got that big on the screen.
Yikes. Okay, thank you for letting me know. That was not supposed to happen.
I did that. I
thank
took it
you.
off.
Okay, so we're trying to go back to the okay, can you see my drawing table now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good. Okay, so what I was doing there was some finger painting. So dipping my finger in the inky water and smearing it over. If you're picking up too much ink, or if your ink is waterproof, not waterproof, you can put a rag or a paper towel over it and blot, and that will pick up most of the loose ink. You can also use a brush at this stage if you're just tired of that stick. I'm going to pick up some brown. There's usually a few brownish bits that show on the trunk. Remember that trunk which had the live and the dead bit? That would be a fun bit to show with color. I'll pick up a bit of dark brown for some rocks. And again, you can also do this with your finger if you want to smear it around. This is a good time to add a few plants at the base. So there's probably a few flowers or grasses that are sticking up at the base. If you've got some other plants there you want to put in. Okay, so I will leave you. I'll stop spotlighting now and give you 2 minutes to add a few more details. Okay, are we back on the tree photo? Back in the tree photo, Mary?
Yes.
Okay, great.
It's about 3:30, Laurie, just FYI.
Okay. So we are nearly at the end. Okay, I'm going to stop and move on there so we can finish on time. So here's a review. The steps we went through were branches, trunk, foliage, and balance adjust, with fiddling with details at the end. Can we get back to gallery view and have people hold, if everybody could hold up the drawing you've got done so far. Let's do a quick,
You know, if you stop screen sharing, we'll probably get a lot more people on the screen.
okay, so
'Cause
I
if you
will
get- Yeah, if,
pause the share for
then you can
now.
come back to it, yeah.
Okay, so we stopped sharing?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
working on it.
Okay, hold up your drawing. Let's see what people did.
You're still sharing.
Oh, am I? Okay,
There we go.
there we go. Okay. Okay, oh, these are beautiful. Wow. I'm going to page through all 3 pages of Zoom people. Oh, they're lovely. Very nice.
Wow.
You getting a chance to look at this?
This is
I
a
would
good
say that you've pretty much all gotten a good sense of that tree. Do you mind if I spotlight a couple of these just so everybody can see? If anybody wants their tree not to be shown, take it down. But I'd like to just spotlight a few of these so you can see how lovely they are.
Now just turn your camera off if you don't want her to spotlight you.
Or just put your drawing down. So this one, look at that. I'm not gonna comment. I'm just gonna flip through a few. So we'll see what we've got. Oh, look at these. Spotlight. I'm just flipping through pretty quickly. It's fascinating how many different solutions there are and how they all have a good connection to that tree. Which is a good thing to remember, that same with people. You can have lots of different portraits of a person that are in different styles and that look different. Okay, so I think we're running out of time. I would love to show all of them, but I think this is all we can fit in for now. So I am going to see if I can turn off the spotlight.
I removed it.
Oh, did you? Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go back to screen sharing. And oops. Here we go. And we'll finish up the presentation. Okay, so that's the end of the drawing part of the presentation, and I'm afraid we're out of time for questions right now. But if anybody wants to hang around at the end, I'd be happy to answer questions. So I want to talk a little bit more about the campus. Let's get Zoom back. So the campus is closed this summer. It was closed last summer. But we're really, really hoping that summer of 22 will be open again. There are a few people offering virtual classes this summer. If you go to the website, and the URL is down the bottom there, sierra.sfsu.edu, you'll see a link to the calendar with the virtual classes that are happening this summer. Next summer, I'm hoping to be teaching my Rockwood Water Sky class again, and I'll just say a few words about that. It's a 5-day landscape workshop, mostly watercolor. And the idea is to do lots and lots of small experiments so you can try lots and lots of different solutions. So on this page, there's lots of different solutions to doing forests. And you're trying to develop your own visual language so that when you go back to doing big paintings that have got everything in it again, you've had a lot of practice doing the bits, and then you can focus on the big picture again. So some of the things we do are color harmony studies. Here we are out in the Sierra Valley, which is surely one of those most beautiful places on earth. I love being out there, and the colors all seem brighter out there. I don't know why that is. Here we are working on reflections and water. The image at the left is at the top of Fraser Falls, just a little bit further down the trail from where we were drawing today. And mostly we work small in that class, but we go big on the first night and on the last morning of the class, we go big. Next year, Kathy McAuliffe and I are developing a new class that's Traces of Humans. The other class that I teach is all about nature. And this is going to be all about the things which humans have left in the Sierra. So petroglyphs from the earliest inhabitants, mines, railways, barns. There's a lot of fascinating stuff up there. So in a couple of weeks, Kathy and I are going to be up there scouting and researching the history. And hopefully next summer we'll be offering that class in person. So see you out on the ridge, I hope, one of these days. Here's some sketchers out on the same ridge drawing trees a couple of years ago when we were out there. And I will turn it back over to Mary, who's going to talk some more about the Friends of the Sierra Nevada Field Campus. And thank you all for joining us on this trip out to the ancient trees on the Fraser Falls Trail.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Laurie.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. That was fun.
People can unmute if they want.
Please, everybody get vaccinated so we can go back up there.
Yeah.
So we did have one question which I think you could answer fairly quickly, and other people have, a number of people asked this, like, what size and weight of the paper and what kind of ink do you like to use?
Oh, good questions. In my classes, I try and get everybody to work on 140-pound, 100% cotton paper, because you can just do so much more with it. It will make anything you do look better. Any brand that's 100% cotton is good, except for Strathmore. I cannot work on Strathmore paper. I don't know what it is, but I've never done a good painting on Strathmore paper. Sorry, Strathmore. For stuff like sketching with sticks, you don't need really good quality paper. You just need something that's heavy enough that it's not going to buckle a lot if you end up with a lot of water on the paper. Let me just fiddle with my screen for a minute here.
If people want a recording of this, just email me at info
Much better. Yes, you got it.
at Friends of the Sierra Nevada, snfc.org, the same address that's on my screen, info at, and request the recording from me.
So the question about ink is, I like to use waterproof ink so that I can go over it with watercolor and it doesn't bleed. There's all kinds of things you can do with ink that's not waterproof that are fun, but I generally like to use waterproof ink, and the blacker the better. There's a lot of different ink brands. Some of them are blacker than others. Generally, the Japanese are very good at making waterproof ink, but British brands like Higgins that have been around forever are good. I don't know, anybody else got ink recommendations?
Sounds good. Okay.
If you're coming up for one of my classes, I will send you an exhaustive materials list, which is way more information than you want. And we'll talk a lot more about materials when we're up there. And I usually bring a lot of brushes for sale in case people get up there and find they don't like the brushes they're using. Oh, somebody's holding up, Ann Seacrest is holding up a bottle of De Atramentis ink, which is a German brand, which is just wonderful. It works in fountain pens too.
I have a black Sumi, which I like. It's Yatsutomo.
Yeah,
But-
I like that one too.
Yeah, it
Can
seems
people add those names to the chat? I didn't
Sure.
understand that first one. Thank you.
mhm.
This Japanese, I think this is the Yasutomo ink, although the label is all in Japanese, but this green one is good.
Yeah, it's a green bottle.
The German
What was
one.
the name of the one you mentioned earlier? And could
De
you,
Atramentis. If somebody could
you
put that in
spell
the chat, that would be good.
can you spell it?
And somebody's saying, I used a bottle of leftover Higgins ink from college 20 years ago and it's still good. I found that too, although sometimes you have to shake it and stir it a lot. But if you're doing rough tree branches, it doesn't really matter if the ink's a little bit cruddy.
Okay, can we talk a little bit about the Friends and the field
Yes.
campus?
And I will hang around for questions later if people want to
Okay.
ask more
That'd be
questions.
wonderful. Okay, I put in the chat, if you might scroll back a little bit because we've had a few more chats come in, a lot of different links to get more information. And also I encourage anybody who hasn't been to the field campus, I'm not totally sure that we've given you a really rich picture of what happens at the field campus, and maybe some of Laurie's students can chime in a little bit. But I gave you a link to, you see the link on my screen, and you can go there to donate. Just click on the donate button, or the link in the chat gives you the address to mail a check or go to PayPal. There's a link to the Friends Facebook page and also to our group page where you can post your work if you want. There's a YouTube channel that we have, and there are other artists who have videos on our Friends of the Sierra Nevada Field Campus YouTube channel. And that link is there. If you just copy the whole piece of chat and paste it into a Word document while you're on the screen here, because it'll go away once the meeting goes away. You'll have all of that at your fingertips. So Friends was a group of instructors, a student, the director, a few of us got together in 2017 because the field campus seemed to be becoming quite neglected. And it's just a place we've loved so much, and people plan their, in a lot of ways, their whole year around their week at the field campus. And so we thought, well, let's give it a shot. Let's get together. Let's put it out there to our student community and see if we can raise some funds to make those bathrooms nicer and, fix the deck. And Lori uses the downstairs ground level lab classroom, and we sort of think of it as a dungeon. And so the fundraising focus for us for the last 2 years has been to build up our coffers so that we can completely redo that ground floor space and bring light and heat and air and just make it a beautiful space like we have to the 2 bathrooms on that same level of the building. It's an old log cabin building. Our dining hall is on the top of that floor. And it's just a cold, dreary place, and it's our priority for funding. The university has really stepped up their involvement since Friends was formed. We were sort of the neglected stepchild until Friends started, and they saw how much the student population that came to the field campus cared about this place. And so they've committed a significant amount of funding and are working hard to bring things up to code and standards. A lot of things have happened during the pandemic that are not obvious to everyone, which is we found quite a bit of substandard electrical that's just old, and that's all been replaced now. A lot of people who have come up have experienced the well pump stopping and running out of water. Sometimes we've replaced the pump. San Francisco State is going to be putting safety rails around the tent platforms. We need to replace the big log columns in front of the dining hall. We're going to have log columns, but they will be new. And so there's just a lot of deferred maintenance that's happening, and you got a chance today, and thank you to Laurie. She has put an enormous amount of time into creating this class. She had 2 meetings with her cadre, a close cadre of friends. She spent hours and hours planning the class out. She and I rehearsed yesterday. So she just has an enormous amount of time, and thank you for that commitment, Lori. It really means a lot. And now today we have this donor who takes Lori's class, and she has just shown this enormous commitment. And so she's asking you to do what you can. And maybe you donated already. Maybe you could donate again because it'll be doubled. Your gift will be doubled. So, does anybody have any questions about the field campus? Everybody can unmute. It'd be nice to meet. I know a lot of people know each other. It'd be nice to just chat a little bit.
So if we've already donated, it has to be a donation today in order to be doubled?
Your donation that you've already made will count towards the match.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And there's another class coming up next weekend, I think, isn't there?
Yes, so we have a few more Zooms coming up. And next Saturday, it's going to be in the morning, Tanya Baxter, who teaches the flora of the Northern Sierra Nevada, is teaching. She's going to take you on a virtual walk through the Lakes Basin, and then she's going to focus on one plant family. I don't know what it is because she's up there right now, and it's going to be whatever is in profusion right now. And she'll have video, and so you'll learn about how to identify a plant family. I'm sure it'll be a flowering plant, and you get to go on a different walk in the Lakes Basin. And then on July 8th, Brian Perry, who teaches our fungi of the Northern Sierra Nevada, is giving a class on the fungi, and he just got back, so he has fresh video of all the collecting they did a week or 2 ago. And last year, both of those, Tanya and Brian, did like a little snippet of their classes, and people were just so excited to sign up. It's the fungi is just fascinating, and of course I've taken the flora class in the past, and it's wonderful. So you can sign up for those. If you get onto our Facebook page, you'll see the notice, you'll have the links, you can, it's just easy. And then in October, I'm tentatively planning on just highlighting 5 or 6 of the new classes that we're hoping will be offered in 2022. We've got a lot of old standards that people love and sign up for, and those classes fill, but we have lots of new things coming, which we didn't get to do in 2020. They were planned, but so that'll be kind of a fun class, and it won't be a fundraiser. We'll just have like 5 minutes on all these different classes. It'll just be super fun. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute, or if you want to say hello to somebody. Just really, really wonderful to see so many people from so many places.
Hey, Laurie, are you teaching anything else over the summer at all?
Nothing yet planned. I'm working on an idea for a Bay Area class about planning paintings where we'll all sit down in an area and I'll talk through how I choose what to paint, and then we'll work through a demo, and then everyone else can paint whatever they want in the area. So that will be an in-person class. I also organize a meetup group in the Bay Area called SF Sketchers, which hopefully we'll be starting to do more outdoor events pretty soon. I'm hoping to do a series of sketches all along the Crosstown Trail, which is a 17-mile trail which crosses San Francisco diagonally. And we'll do it in maybe 2-mile chunks, and people who don't want to walk can sketch at the beginning and end. I'm also looking at doing a demo for Art Supplies, which has recently started carrying the Rublev watercolors, and I'm going to do a demo with some of the things you can do with the watercolors. So that's all I've got planned for the moment. And hopefully as more things open up, we'll get some more in-person classes going. Although won't work for you, Helen, on the other side of the country.
No, it won't. So if you do something that's online, would I be able to find it on your Facebook page, or?
I'll publicize it on Facebook and Instagram, and if I get my act together, I'll send out a MailChimp email to everybody who's on my mailing list. And if you want to get on my mailing list, go to my website, and there's a sign up form there.
Okay.
The
And your
website
website it's listed in the chat.
just lauriewigham.com.
Thanks, hon.
Laurie, and Kathy, do you have dates for next summer for the Rockwood Sky and then the one with the people buildings?
No dates yet.
Okay.
Last year, or whenever we were there last, I can't remember now. It was June 21st to the 26th, and then July 26th to the 31st. So, it may be around those 2 weeks.
I like to do the Rockwood Water Sky as close to the solstice as possible, so we can get the longest days, because that means we can go out in the evening after dinner and do some more stuff at sunset.
Yeah.
Someone's asking what hashtag should they use to post their drawings?
That's a question for you, Mary.
Oh, I'm not a hashtagger.
Oh, really?
My age is showing.
Uh-huh.
Well, whatever your Instagram, I don't know how you do hashtags.
Oh, my
Hashtags
Instagram
are a mystery.
Okay, my Instagram is just lauriewigham.com. Or no, Laurie Wigham, just my name. And I think there's a hashtag that's in use, limited use for the Friends, or maybe it's just for Sierra Nevada Field Campus.
Not that I know of, but yeah. So yeah, I think next year we probably will be on Instagram and do more hashtag things. We have a new board member who is doing all our promotions and handling our Facebook page. So yeah, it's very possible.
Cool.
So wonderful to see all your work. It's just wonderful.
Yes, please post it online. I guess we should get a hashtag for